Okay, so a few days ago, this video came across my feed from Jeff Nippard. This video, how to look like you're on steroids. And originally, I really didn't think anything of it because he's made a couple other videos like this before about steroids and kind of like clickbaity subtitles, I guess you could say. Clickbaity titles, I guess you could say. But then I saw a couple of clips from this video from another commentary channel, and it got me raising an eyebrow, and it also got me looking a lot into what Jeff's been up to for the past year and what kind of videos he's put and posting. And there is a whole ass rabbit hole that is taking me down right now to make me believe that there is a chance that Jeff has been taking like lower levels of PEDs of some sort of steroids, because up until now I wouldn't have accused him of that at all, but this video and all the other videos that I'm going to be going over in depth eventually, not right now, we're just going to have an initial reaction to this just to see what the hell is going on and why there's so many comments hating on him down here. We're just going to be looking into this right now. And then eventually I'm going to start streaming my research into the rest of his videos, which I've noticed an alarming trend of him kind of warming up the steroids or trying to prime his audience to the concept of taking steroids. Okay, so let's just get right into this video and skip all the boring stuff. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe and all that kind of stuff.
Is it possible?
Oh, good thing I caught that. I didn't have the desktop audio on.
Is it possible to look like you're on steroids without ever actually taking steroids? I think it is, but a lot of people find that hard to believe.
To answer the question, you can, but it's pretty hard, for one. For two, to look like you're on steroids, you absolutely do have to be on steroids, which is what one of the comments pointed out. Because holy fuck, there are certain signs of steroid users that we'll be going over in this video, such as how long it takes to be able to achieve your physique, whether if it's like a few years or something like that. Actually, I'll save it all for when we go into the video. I'll save all of that for when we actually go into the video.
The majority of people are saying, there's no way this guy is natural.
You just won't be able to convince me there's a single chance he achieved this naturally.
So I put it to the test, and I showed this group of guys who swear they're all natural to random strangers and asked them one question. Who's natty?
The bodybuilding community has wild drama 24/7. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really follow bodybuilding too much. I just really dislike bodybuilding as a concept because of how unhealthy I kind of perceive it to be, with the extreme cutting, sub 10% body fat. A bunch of them use steroids and stuff, let's be entirely real. I am much more of a calisthenics guy, and I also specialize in weight loss as my specialization for personal training, because I am a personal trainer outside of YouTube. You can check out the link for that down below if you want for his consultation, but that's a whole other thing in itself. I do want to get onto this video because there's some weird shit going on in this video that you would not expect from Jeff Nippard, of all people.
And who's not?
Him.
You think he's on steroids? Okay.
Also, thanks for the donation. I don't really get those very often.
Oh yeah, like that's just insane.
It's pretty big.
It gets a little suspicious, you know. It's a little.
This guy right here, I guarantee, is on something. And I'll go over why in a little bit whenever he pops up.
It's a little too much.
I think he takes steroid.
Him?
Yeah.
Okay, you stay forward.
100% I would say natural.
No, they've just been getting roasted the whole time. So
Yeah,
they're used to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on their answers, I was able to pinpoint exactly which body features people look at when they're suspecting steroids. And in this video, I'll show you how to build up those features 100% naturally. By the end, you'll know
look how shredded
exactly
he
how
is.
to look enhanced without ever touching a needle.
And keep in mind, by the way, steroids, in terms of like how in-depth my knowledge goes on like every single steroid, like Tren or Anabar or whatever the fuck, it's not like necessarily my specialty, but I do have pretty decent knowledge of like spotting the signs and stuff like that of steroids.
As for our 8 test subjects,
All of those guys I
totally
can see as being
understand the
natural. This guy and beyond, no.
skepticism when you just look at them, especially a few in particular. That's why
Yeah, I wonder why he's
secretly
zooming in on
bringing
that guy.
A medical doctor who's going to blood test every single person later in the video. And I'll say this, there's definitely one curveball in those testosterone results. First, let's break down what people think a natural physique actually looks like. On the right is the definitely natty zone. Basically, everyone I interviewed thought this look was achievable naturally with some basic training. A few people pointed to subject number 5's quads as being a little suspicious, but I got in a leg workout with him, and I definitely think he earned those quads naturally. On the
Why does being able to do a good solid workout mean you're able to earn quads like that naturally? Let's say he is natural, right? Being put through a workout, especially like a hard one, doesn't prove you're natural. You can work out really hard with steroids too. Something feels off about that because I don't think in terms of trying to spot somebody's natty status through a workout, you're not going to be able to find anything because some people are just pretty jacked as is. That is such a weird way of, like, for the science guy, that is such a weird way of trying to clock somebody as natural. Especially for the opening of the video.
left side is the questionable zone. Most people thought these guys were
That guy's absolutely on steroids. He is absolutely on steroids. There's no doubt about it. You can tell there are 3 things that I generally like to look at when it comes to steroid users. First of all, overdeveloped traps. Those are probably one of the biggest things just because of the fact of how hard they are to develop. Then you have your delts. If they're like fucking bowling balls, then yeah, you're going to probably be on steroids because those are also very hard to develop. His arms are like really big too, maybe natural, but they do look like genuinely inflated. The biggest thing for this guy in particular though is his gut. He has something called, you can see it at least forming right now, especially for his age, which is 19 apparently. He has something called bubble gut, which is something that you've also seen notorious steroid user the Liver King has. It's like some sort of side effect that develops when you use steroids. I don't know the underlying science of it, but the fact of the matter is, this guy's gut, even for 19, is looking eerily close to the Liver King's, let alone his entire physique. Like, this is not natural, no. I'm sorry to say.
probably taking something. Even after I told them they swear they're 100%.
That guy, I looked into a little bit, just because of the fact that he ended up popping on my YouTube subscription feed for some reason. Apparently, he has been tested recently and nothing came up. But there's something suspicious about him that I'll be going over soon whenever it gets to him in the video.
natty, some people still had their doubts.
So what if I told you all of these people are actually natural?
That's crazy.
Wow,
I'm
you
gonna
found the
start
top
working out too.
1% of the
believe me?
population, buddy.
It gets a little suspicious, you know. It's a little too much. I'd have to say no.
Yeah?
I'd have to
Okay,
say
fair.
no.
Fair, legit. Are you in my YouTube comments?
Out of curiosity, I asked people where they'd insert me into the lineup, and some of their answers were a little surprising.
At the end.
At the end?
Oh my
I gotta put
god.
you at 2. I gotta put you at 2.
Right here?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Not here?
Yeah, I can put you at 1. I can put you at 1. Yeah, I can put you at 1.
But if you
Honestly,
can't
in this lighting, he doesn't actually look that unnatural to me, at least.
split out the person who put me in the most jacked spot, definitely a fan, and my biggest hater of all time, Madeline, who put me in the least jacked spot, on average, most people put me in the middle, right between the definitely natty zone and the questionable zone. Several people pointed to my shoulders as my enhanced feature. And in my experience, that
Those are
usually
enhanced.
is the first thing that people look for when they're judging whether or not someone's enhanced.
Well, yeah, because they're really hard to develop into such a certain size. Like, you have more plates, more dates with this, like, bowling ball delts and shit like that. There's a certain point when where they grow before it's like, yeah, you're taking something, because those are really difficult muscles to build to such a massive size. Do I think Jeff could be natural with these alone? I'd probably say yes, especially with like at least this lighting right here. They don't look super massive compared to other people I've seen. But at the same time, there's a chance he could be going on something just because of the trend I've noticed after seeing this video of him kind of warming up to steroids over the past year or so. That's going to be a whole other video in itself, like I said, though. Warbird, I wonder if there's a way to do synthol in a realistic and believable way. I have no idea. Synthol, like, literally makes your arms look like water balloons, don't they? Like, there's that one guy who's, like, Russian or something, and he has, like, Popeye arms because he's been injecting a bunch of shit into his arms and stuff like that. But yeah. Yeah, I'll actually turn on chat just in case somebody wants, just in case, you never know.
Anytime I'm accused of taking steroids, I always hear that my delts look just a little too 3D. And
I'm not really sure. I mean, it could kind of go either way because they're not like freakishly big, but they are on the higher end of what's achievable natural.
while I owe a lot of my deltoid development to solid science-based training principles,
Oh boy.
I probably owe more of it to my mom. Like, just look at her shoulders right now.
Oh wow, yeah.
60 years old, lifetime natty. But if you're chasing that naturally enhanced look,
Jeez Louise, look at that fucking
building
definition.
a wide set of delts is absolutely crucial. And the real key is the side delts. I do lateral raises at least twice a week, but when I was early on in my bodybuilding journey, there were actually periods where I do lateral raises at the end of every workout. So if you're struggling to grow them, try training them more often, even 3 to 5 times a week. After 3D delts,
Well, you
the
also
second-
treat them like the every other muscle group. Same goes with your abs and stuff like that, because there's so many people who want these like 5-minute a day ab exercise routines kinds of thing. It's like you treat it like any other muscle essentially. If you want to increase it a little bit by a little bit more compared to the rest of your muscles, target it a little bit more with a little bit more volume and stuff like that. But then again, like I said before, there is a limit as to how big your delts especially can get in terms of when you're natural and stuff like that.
naturally enhanced feature that people pointed to was actually the biceps. I was a little surprised at this, but
I actually haven't heard that now that I think about it.
almost
Biceps indicate. Actually, you know what? After looking at this guy, I can kind of see it. His biceps are literally bigger than his fucking head, man.
single person pointed out the biceps on the 4 guys
And I want to be entirely clear here when I say this too, right? I'm not gonna say like these guys are like bad dudes for faking their natty status or whatever, as long as they're not like pushing V shred levels of stuff, or they're trying to scam you with some supplements or something like that. I don't necessarily have an issue with them as people. That being said, when it comes to certain people, especially this guy, and I probably say this guy, these two are definitely on something. This guy I'm questionable of, even though he's taken tests, but I'll kind of go over him in a second.
in the questionable zone.
Like the arms are literally as big as my leg.
That's like, oh no.
Okay,
Turns
yeah,
out that
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
trying to impress
I would say a smaller version of that is possible because some people just have weird genetics where only the upper part of the bicep, I think it's called the long head, I'll need to double check, pops, and then the rest of this part doesn't pop, kind of like mine. Kind of see like the bump there, and then it kind of smooths out right here, whereas his takes like a steep turn before it reaches his elbow. That's entirely possible natural, but like this is a comical size after a certain point.
everyday folks, having some big peaked biceps might just be the easiest way to do it. Subject number 4 drew a lot of attention for his biceps peaks, so I wanted to see if he had any secret sauce for building those insane 18-inch arms.
Jesus Christ!
Literally 18, right on the money.
Yeah,
Is
so
there a reason why people do this other than it looks really cool? Because like even women aren't necessarily attracted to this, right? Because I've heard there's like a certain point of muscularity for even women before it's like, yeah, you're kind of going too far, fam. When it comes to like attractiveness, at least.
I was a competitive gymnast. So up until I was like 14, I got this one.
Oh, he's
photo.
a gymnast? No wonder. Gymnasts have some massive ass fucking arms, dude.
Pulled this off my mom's Facebook.
You can even see the
Whoa.
like delt development. How
Gymnasts have some massive muscles, so I can see that at least.
old are you there?
Maybe like 12.
Tolga explained to
Well-
me that he does a lot of preacher curls with forced reps at the end.
That sounds
So
reasonable.
once he can't get the weight up on his own, he uses his other hand for assistance and then takes the full weight on the negative.
That's
Even
pretty
though
smart.
my biceps aren't really a strong point for me, I did manage to grow them over the last year, according to ultrasound measurements, and I owe a lot of those gains to this exercise right here, Bayesian curls.
Locked in that position, right?
Yeah, I keep it locked. And it's just curling up like this.
This isn't bad advice either, by the way. I'm not saying Jeff is giving bad advice whenever in this video at all, because this is like a good exercise, obviously.
And so you can really
I would say it's
emphasize
science-based.
the length and position.
After biceps, the next thing that stood out as an enhanced feature was actually the upper pecs. A few people pointed this out on subject number 2 as his main wow factor, and I'll take a little credit for that. I actually coached Shamar to the all-time Canadian bench press record for his weight
nice.
class
Good for
in
him.
drug-tested powerlifting. Even though some of the science-based community prefers machines over the bench press,
When it comes to the upper chest, I honestly haven't really heard of that one either. That is kind of like a hard place to develop though. But that being said, I don't know personally when it comes to that. Like I said, it's the traps, delts, and bubble gut that usually are a dead giveaway, alongside whether kind of side effects come with steroids. Obviously, like you have those massive spots on people's backs and stuff like that. It's like some form of acne, I believe, that form when you take certain steroids and stuff like that. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of every single steroid. There's some people who really know their shit on this, but there are like other side effect signs, obviously. None of these guys really seem to show them though, and it's probably in part because they're young and haven't been doing it for long enough to develop those visible side effects, but we'll have to see in time, I guess.
strongly believe it's one of the best exercises for building a big, sculpted chest.
I think, man,
Got that Greek
I
boy
really don't think it's
chest.
a coincidence, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's
Greek
not.
man, I
everyone
mean.
I see who has a big bench has a big chest.
Has a big chest as
Well,
well,
yeah.
right?
Of
Now, when it comes
course.
to the upper pecs in particular, it is pretty clear that an incline bench will grow that area a bit better. So for the best total pec development, make sure you include some kind of incline press or incline fly as well.
I don't have any
After
issue
the
with that.
pecs, a lot of people pointed out that everyone in the questionable zone had bigger traps
Yes.
than anyone else. And
That is
science does
absolutely a dead giveaway. Traps are really hard to develop to after a certain point to be able to make them pop like that. That's insane.
suggest that having massive traps can be an indicator that you're on some special supplements.
See?
Because your upper traps have a higher androgen receptor density than most other muscles. Basically, there are just more testosterone receptors on the muscle cells there, so when you inject testosterone, it tends to have a bigger impact on the traps since there are more receptors to bind to. I never had the best traps personally, but I did manage to bring them up the best my genetics would allow. Obviously, shrugs are a staple, but a good tip is to use a slightly wider grip and think about shrugging up and in. That way you'll hit the upper trap fibers along their fiber orientation much better. The upper trap fibers actually run a lot more horizontally than many people realize. I also think including some kind of overhead raise is a good idea for the upper traps.
I don't have any issue
So
with
that
any
could
of
be
this.
a full ROM lateral raise or an overhead loo raise on the cables. And even though it's fallen out of fashion a bit lately, I still do think direct neck training can make a big difference here too. But above all that, in my personal opinion, this next thing is the biggest factor that's actually fully within your control, and it's simply being lean. Assuming you have some muscle base, when you're leaner, you're
Yeah, I would say that too, but it's obviously entirely possible to get super lean naturally. You have your bodybuilders who are like completely natural who get lean and big and stuff like that. But again, another factor again to take in is the size of them, and also the fact that when it comes to taking steroids, actually there's a guy that's coming up soon who I'll be able to commentate over that specific portion of steroid usage and spotting and stuff.
going to look much more jacked. As a comparison, this is what I looked like 30 pounds heavier at around 20% body fat, and this is what I look like now, 30 pounds lighter
Damn.
at around 10% body fat. I'm definitely getting more steroid accusations now, despite the fact that I'm actually quite a bit smaller. That's the illusion of bodybuilding.
I think a big part of creating that like enhanced look is just getting leaner.
Yeah, for sure, 100%, especially when you're natty.
If
I
you
agree
get
with that.
leaner and like you get on camera under some decent lighting,
Yeah, you look
like
crazy.
you're gonna look way bigger. It's just the way it is.
true.
You're actually smaller, but you look
There is a limit to that, though, I would say. Sure, you'll look more masculine and stuff just because the lighting and all of that kind of stuff will bring out like your veins and vascularity and your muscle fibers and stuff like that. But you also do have to take into consideration that some people, that there's a certain threshold with the muscles, again, where they can grow too big to the point where it looks like comical, such as 18-inch arms that look like they're bigger than your head. I don't think something like that, for instance, is achievable naturally unless you're like 1 in a million kind of genetics, which is absolutely freakish.
look bigger.
When you're leaner, you'll also be more vascular, which is actually
Yep.
not nearly as related to steroids as many people think.
Phil Heath is
arguably the best. You could make the case he's the best bodybuilder ever, the most gifted anyway. And he just wasn't a vascular guy. Neither was Jay Cutler.
Jesus
You'll
Christ,
get
look at his fucking body. Jeez, man. People actually do that to
more
themselves.
roid accusations if you are vascular. People, for some reason, think it's related. It's mostly just genetic, honestly. It's mostly genetic and low body fat.
Someone like Hussein gets a lot of fake natty accusations online since he has a huge social media
Yeah, I
following.
wonder why.
And yeah,
This is the guy who I saw earlier, who apparently has taken tests recently, and he had Greg Doucette do it with him. So at least as of right now, it doesn't look like he's doing anything. That being said, in a couple seconds, there is something I do want to say when it pops up.
super impressive physique, even in real life, so I get it. But just like me and pretty much every other fitness influencer, he does understand the power of lighting, posing, and the illusion of bodybuilding. Most people don't realize just how much of a difference lighting can make in how enhanced you look.
That is true. That is true. But again, it just comes, there's like a certain point where you can kind of see that they're probably using steroids when they get too big, even with lighting.
Especially when you're lean like Hussein. Actually, while shooting this video, I played with 2 different lighting options. This is what everyone looked like with standard diffuse lighting. Now look at the difference once we switched to more spot lighting. Everyone went from natty to enhanced in a 1-second transformation. Here's another
Nah,
visual.
they don't. The guys on the left obviously don't look enhanced. That's ridiculous.
This is what I look like just standing in my kitchen under normal lighting with
I mean,
no
he still looks
posing,
impressive.
being filmed on an iPhone. All I did was run downstairs to my posing room, flicked on a spotlight, hit a most muscular pose, and switch to a Sony A7S III camera.
Damn, look
That's
at that boy.
a big visual difference with less than 1 minute between shots. I'm only 155 pounds right now. Big visual difference with less than 1 minute.
Oh yeah,
between
he's
shots.
also posing, to be fair. If he held his arms out like that in this photo, maybe we can get a better idea, but yeah. It does make a difference in terms of how muscular you look. I'm not sure if you can say the same when it comes to like inflating the actual muscle size itself, which is kind of where you can kind of tell when some people might just be starting to do some stuff after a certain point.
Shots. I'm only 155 pounds right now, and when you look at me posing on my own, I think I do look massive, but when you put me into the lineup of other guys that are bigger than me,
I mean, you're
think
shorter too, so that doesn't necessarily help, to be fair.
that's a lot of context. Now, right before I show you everyone's blood work, let's talk about Julian. This guy's caught the internet by storm, with the majority of people saying there's simply no way he's natural, especially when you consider he just turned 19 years old.
Yeah, this guy with the goddamn Liver King bubble gut that's forming right now looks like that. I do not know how a 19-year-old, even with god tier genetics, can look like that. That's just absolutely mind-blowing to me. I do not believe it whatsoever. There's like a certain point when you look a certain way, especially at a certain age, like 19, and it's just like too comically insane to be able to be realistically done without steroids to me. But again, like I said, you can look at the traps, you look at his delts, you look at his fucking bubble gut, and
How old
it's
are you?
all the
Yeah.
signs, especially at least early signs of possible steroid use.
You're 19? Okay, yeah, he's
Yeah, that looks like a regular 19-year-old right there.
I've been training for almost as long as he's been alive.
I'm gonna max this thing out for him.
He doesn't even know where to fit them.
Yeah, we're starting to run out of room, but yeah, what's another 10? 360. Let's go. We might as well go 365.
You think you'll get it?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I just loaded as much as I could. Tell me on 1, 2, 3, okay?
Look at those fucking biceps. Jesus, dude, look at those. Wow. Okay, I can't zoom in like that, I guess. Look at those things, man. I refuse to believe a 19-year-old can achieve that naturally. Like, maybe his body reacts well to steroids, absolutely. But there's no way he's not doing steroids. Not even fully grown adults at their prime are able to reach this naturally. Woo-wee!
That's actually insane.
He's strong at least. He's
get
got
5
that
or
going
6.
too. Which steroids obviously does increase your strength before anybody says anything.
Let's go, Julian. Push it. 6. Let's get 8.
Come on, come on.
Geez, 60 pounds on the weighted
7.
push-ups, huh?
Okay, this-
Weighted pull-ups.
12, maybe. Yeah.
Go heavier. Stop.
Okay.
That's too light for you. And you don't do weighted pull-ups?
I do. I just
You do have 3 plates.
Oh, he's
You
using
do
a
3
fucking...
plates? I don't even know what to say right now. It's just depressing. I'm not sure to be like, if I should be motivated or just sad.
Oh
But
boy,
here's
I'm
the
not,
thing.
he feels kind of insecure. That's gonna tie into my bigger video covering his behavior over the past year and what he's been uploading that make me suspect that he's trying to kind of warm up his base to steroid usage, at least to a certain extent, but that's a whole other rabbit hole in itself that we're gonna have to go down eventually.
Before you jump to any conclusions, just take a look at this photo. This is Melvin Wells, and this photo was taken in 1949. The first corroborated reports of testosterone use in the lifting community were in 1952. So there's an extremely high likelihood those arms are 100% natty. But if you're really tapped in, you may know that Soviet lifters did use testosterone in the late 1940s, so maybe this guy somehow got his hands on it. One person who definitely
Even if you want to argue he's a genetic outlier who can look like that, first of all, I don't know what his age is in that, but he probably looks like he's at least in his early 30s or something like that. We're talking about a 19-year-old here with a body that makes actual competitive bodybuilders look like pussies in comparison. Like, this is ridiculous. Jeff, you're the science guy. There's like no skepticism whatsoever here for this, especially when he shows blatant signs like the gut issue, like I've been saying and emphasizing for that particular dude. Come on.
didn't get his hands on steroids, though, was this gentleman. And we know that because this photo was taken in 19...
He looks completely natural. He doesn't even look like he's on steroids. Look at his frame and stuff.
2 decades before injectable testosterone was ever even isolated for the first time. Not gonna lie, those bicep peaks do look a bit familiar.
They look a bit familiar, sure, but you're also comparing a fully grown adult with smaller bicep peaks to a 19-year-old with bicep peaks that are larger than the average person's head. Is this serious? Like, if it came from any other gym influencer, I wouldn't necessarily have as much of an issue with it just because it's like the typical shit that's being put out these days. But it's Jeff Nippard, the science skeptic dude we are talking about here, which is absolutely making me drop my jaw in astonishment at what I'm hearing right now. It's so weird hearing this from him.
Some people are just jacked. Just like there's a huge range in height potential.
Dude.
Here's the thing. Some people are just jacked. Just like there's a huge...
You can literally see right here. It's starting to look like a fucking blown up trash bag here with how much these things are starting to bulge out. We'll have to see where he is in like 3 years. But again, compared to the Liver King, where his things are also bulging out too, as you can see. Got that bubble gut, especially right here. Jesus Christ! That is bad looking. I really don't know what to say after a certain point when it comes to this stuff.
Range in height potential. There's also a huge range in muscle growth potential. If we see someone who's 7 feet tall, we don't immediately think they're taking growth hormone. But when it comes to muscle mass, people often forget the role of genetics and immediately jump to steroids. Now,
well, yeah, because there's only a certain point, like I've been hammering home again, there is a certain point when it comes to muscle growth where you reach your genetic potential, and most people's, almost nobody's genetic potential can achieve that natural, let alone at the age of some of these dudes that aren't even like 25 yet.
I don't want to undercut any of Julian's hard work and chalk it all up to genetics. The dude trains like an absolute beast.
Well, you have to train like an absolute beast even with steroids.
But I do think his answer...
They help you train like an absolute beast, in fact. I believe they also function as like performance enhancers to a certain extent as well, right? They do make you literally stronger and can help you work out more.
This question was revealing.
What do you have for breakfast?
I do eat a lot of like protein and stuff like that. Like same thing everybody else eats. Like I go to Wendy's sometimes, you know what I mean? Nothing crazy.
Here's what I think. Sometimes, when you combine world-class genetics with super hard training, you really can get to a level of muscular development that some people simply aren't going to believe is possible naturally, no matter what you say.
This is Jeff Nippard of all people saying this stuff right now. Not your typical gym influencer who spews a bunch of bullshit. We're talking about Jeff Nippard. He has no form of skepticism for these guys whatsoever. He saw them do a workout and that was enough for him to declare natty status for these guys. And then the blood work that he does, we'll be going over in a second. But what the fuck is some of this stuff, man? This is ridiculous. There's no skepticism whatsoever. It's the typical gym stuff. It's kind of like pushing this false idea that you could grow to massive like that without performance enhancing drugs or steroids or anything like that. That's just not true. Unless you're like, again, 1 in a million genetics there, which I really doubt any of these guys have.
I'm in the gym all the time. Like, it's like because somebody's like basically saying, nah, you didn't put in the work, you just stuck a needle in your arm. But
Right.
I'm like afraid of needles. I hate needles like so much.
See, that's how you know he's not enhanced, because he said you put it in your arm and you don't inject in your arm. Ah.
I believe you can inject them in your arms, right? Let me double check. Jeff isn't an idiot. What?
You know he's not enhanced because he said you put it in your arm and you don't inject in your arm. Ah. So are you?
Steroid injections often containing corticosteroids are commonly used to treat inflammation in various parts of the body, including the arms and hand. Administered in... Oh, wait, wrong. Let me double check. Yes, you can inject steroids into your arm. Not all of them, obviously. A lot of them you have to take pills for and stuff like that. But some of them you absolutely can inject. Jeff, what do you mean? You've been doing this for over 15 years at this point. How do you not know that? It literally took like 3 seconds to do a Google search on it.
Are you planning to stay natural, or have you thought about that?
As of right now, I'm just focused on, getting through school.
Yeah.
And I'm also like a big family dude, so I want to start a family and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, he is big.
Awesome.
Once everything's kind of, set in stone and I have everything laid out, then I'll be like, all right, cool, let's shoot for Olympia, you know what I mean?
For real?
Let's shoot for real.
Holy shit, okay.
And despite that
What did
sounding
he say?
I'll be like, all right, cool, let's shoot for Olympia, you know what I mean?
For real?
Oh,
Shoot
Olympia,
for real.
okay.
Holy shit, okay.
Can't wait to see what happens when he gets drug tested there.
And despite that sounding authentic, I still want a little more confirmation. So while they get their blood drawn, I'll tell you what I'm looking for in someone who's natural. Most healthy young men will have testosterone levels between around 200 and 850 nanograms per deciliter.
Okay.
If you're over a
Testosterone is only one way to measure for a certain type of steroid, which is TRT, I believe it's called. But other steroids don't affect your testosterone. But from what I'm aware of, from the clip that I saw at least of this, because I haven't watched the full video yet, they only measure your testosterone level here. Let's save judgment and see if he does any other kind of blood work for these guys.
1,000, that's a bit suspicious. Over 1,200 is very suspicious, and over 1,500 is basically impossible without steroid use.
Okay.
Pro bodybuilders will sometimes go well above 5,000. I've even heard of people going above 10,000, especially if they're not taking other drugs to suppress their
Jesus,
levels.
that sounds like it'll
All right,
kill you.
now with that in mind, let's take a look at the blood results. Now, for the sake of full transparency, I have to say, there actually was one person who went above the normal range for testosterone. This is
Don't tell me this is the only test he does, because there are a bunch of other steroids like Tren, Anabar, and all of these other kinds that I can't think of off the top of my head, which affect your body, obviously. They grow your muscles, but they don't touch your testosterone. In fact, from what I'm aware of, some of them can literally lower your testosterone. So if they're taking something that doesn't affect your testosterone or possibly even lowers it, they're going to pass this test in this video and appear as natty from a blood work perspective because Jeff didn't do his due diligence and get some sort of kind of comprehensive blood panel going. He just measured for one thing. We're talking about the science dude here, by the way. He should know that this is really surface level stuff and incredibly misleading.
the bar graph of everyone's levels. and they ranged from 415 to 689, except for one person who hit 928. Who do you think it was?
Let's actually check that real quick. Let's check. Yeah. Exactly. Anabolics. You have your anabolics. You have all these other ones too. Like, it's not my area of expertise per se when it comes to steroids. Obviously, I say don't do them for very obvious reasons, like people dying by the age of 40 and shit like that. But from what I'm aware of, the stuff that I do know, not all steroids directly affect testosterone or even boost it, like I said. So this is extremely misleading from the guy who has built himself on scientific skepticism and knowing all this stuff. This is something he knows he is doing that is dishonest. And I have my suspicions why, but that'll be for the big expose that I plan on doing eventually.
Subject number 6, Spencer. Everyone else was in the 400s to 600s, but Spencer's levels were substantially higher than everyone else's. So, does that mean he's the fake natty? Well, to check and see, I went ahead and got his luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone levels measured as well, since those hormones tend to drop very low with steroid use. So, if Spencer has high testosterone combined with low LH and low FSH, that would make me do a double take. And as it turns out, his LH and FSH levels were totally normal, right in the middle of the reference.
Those are only a couple of different measurements, though. There's a bunch of other ones that you have to do. The video that Hussein did, one of the guys in the video, when he did his blood work, he had like 20 different things that they were counting.
Range.
And this guy and all the other guys,
LH and FSH levels were all normal for everyone. And to be clear,
there's more to it than that, though.
Definitely do think Spencer is natty. A 928 testosterone level is a bit high, but it's nothing really out of the ordinary for an active young male.
There's a bunch of different measurements from what I'm aware of, because there's a bunch of different steroids that do various things. These are only 3 different measurements that he uses compared to the comprehensive blood panels that are usually done for this kind of stuff. Again, not my area of expertise. I'm doing this live, so I don't remember all of this stuff off the top of my head regarding what specifically is done to test for steroids. But this is obviously, to like anybody who does any kind of critical thinking or probably even knows more than me, and especially from all the comments down below, this is not comprehensive enough to determine whether these guys are natties or not.
Their late teens. But more interestingly, and contrary to popular belief, more testosterone didn't correlate with more muscle, at least not within the natural range. And research actually supports this. Studies show that as long as you're within the normal, healthy range, testosterone doesn't do nearly as much for muscle growth as people seem to think. It isn't until you start injecting testosterone and you get to those supraphysiological levels that it really packs on the size. Now, of course, it's always possible that someone could have used something in the past, but I think
yes, obviously.
the most plausible scientific explanation is that when you combine years of really hard training with dedicated nutrition and the right parents, the results can be super impressive.
This is such fucking bullshit, man. Again, we're talking about the guy who built himself on scientific skepticism here, and he's barely even questioning these guys' physiques at all. He determined one of them was literally fine just because of how he worked out with his quads and stuff during leg day. He uses a very surface level blood test that doesn't go over all the metrics done to be able to check for all different types of steroids that they can be using. And he's saying stuff like, you can achieve this physique that looks like literally the Greek god statues, except like 5 times bigger natural. And I'm like sitting here thinking, what are you talking about? I think everybody else in this comment section too. I'm surprised by the lack of dislikes, because everybody in these comment sections, years of hard training, I'm 19. Like, look at this. Everybody is calling him out on this. I'm not the only one here.
to maximize your own natural potential, you need to dial in your nutrition.
Oh boy, macro factor.
Super easy and kind of fun.
I will say this. I do use macro factor. Give me 1 second, I'll show you. I have it right here on my phone. I actually have been using his app for at least a couple of years now. I think since July of 2023, because I was looking at my caloric range, my average calorie intake over the past couple of years. I've been using his app for a while. It's a good app and stuff, don't get me wrong, but it feels like he's kind of like, every single video I've seen him do, he does shoehorn this in here, and he kind of does market it pretty hard. It's like the science app and stuff like that, which is, I mean, like, I get it, but at the same time, it feels kind of maybe a little bit too forced, but that's a whole other point for a whole other day. I think that's all he does, though. That's all the video. Overall, when it comes to this particular video, I will say this. I will go over this real quick. When you look at the rest of his videos, with the power of hindsight, knowing that he's kind of running cover for fake natties right now, you look at his older video from like a year ago, steroids are awesome. And to basically summarize that one, he glazes steroids while also giving the obvious caution, don't do them because they'll fuck your body up and stuff like that. But he spends so much time saying how much they work and how much they improve you. We know that he has like low-key body dysmorphia to a certain extent from some of the language that he uses in his videos, comparing himself to other people. He's been under attack by the bodybuilding community for a while now because of his science-based training and stuff like that. And that's a whole other rabbit hole to go into. But it kind of makes sense that over the years, you look at his videos, they all kind of seem to be slowly working up to possibly trying to soften his base to him possibly being caught doing steroids, or possibly even propose doing like low amounts of steroid usage eventually in the future. It's a whole rabbit hole to go down. I don't really want to do that right now, especially for this stream, since it's almost 10 p.m. at my time. But it's definitely something that I think everybody, in the meantime, while I formulate my video and do more research looking into these different videos about it and connecting some dots, to look into, because it really does look sketchy what he's been posting in the past year with this new video in to give us the power of hindsight for everything else up past this point right here. Other than that, oh wow, maybe actually it goes a little bit farther back than that. Wow. Other than that, I just wanted to do a quick video on it because holy crap, he dropped the ball hard on this one. And typically you can possibly chalk it up to ignorance, but this guy has over 15 years in the industry right now. He knows the ins and outs of all of this stuff because it's pretty much required for his job. And he gave such a pop fitness surface level video running cover for people who are more than likely, especially in certain cases in the video, obviously fake natties. It's disappointing, man, especially as somebody who has bought his courses before. I bought them a few years ago when I was doing more strength and weight training. I use his app. I've been using his app for 2 years now. And I've also bought his Muscle Ladder book. I need to get around to reading that just because I have a massive backlog of books to read. It's kind of disappointing to see him go down this route. I'm not going to lie. It seems like a big slap in the face if he's going to be going further than this. I really hope that the backlash that he's getting right now is going to wake him up and prevent him from going down that road any further. But other than that, I really don't have much else to say, so I'm just going to end the stream here. I'm probably going to keep it live just because I want this to kind of be its own video and stuff like that. And yeah. Make sure to like, subscribe, and also I myself am a personal trainer who specializes in weight loss. I run Step 1 Fitness. You can check out the link below in my description to be able to schedule a consultation with me because I do really want to help people with their weight loss journey. And I also do other stuff. Like I am kind of working in calisthenics skill work. I can do like general fitness and stuff like that because I have a lot of experience with that. And yeah, there's my little version of a macro factor shill. I don't want to drag it on for too long, obviously, though. So yeah, I'm going to end it here and I'll see you.